Hey everyone, welcome to the second roundtable discussion between me, Munene, and Steve for this volume of the Adherence project. Now, at this point of the recording, we were a month in, so the journey had been heating up. We've been really diving into the process and making that first chunk of initial progress. I'm really excited for you to listen to this episode because we break down our individual strategies in terms of how we are organizing our nutrition throughout the day, how we organize it to manage like hunger, energy, and make sure that training is in a good spot. We also dive more into like macros, calories, the nitty gritty with that. And then we also discuss what kind of progress did we see in the first month. So how was our body changing? How much like body fat did we lose in terms of the scale weight as well? And like, what's the difference kind of top to bottom versus where we started versus where we were at this point in time. So I'm really excited for you to see those details. So sit back, relax. I hope you enjoy it and we'll see you inside. Hey everyone, welcome to the second episode or second podcast episode of the Adherence project, the 2023/2024 run. So this is very exciting. I'm back here with Munene and Steve. We've officially completed, I guess, just over a month now, a month and a few days of our prep so far. So we're kind of building that momentum right now. I think that's the thing, or we have built the momentum and we're just kind of carrying through. So we'll kind of go around to start off. I want to continue this kind of roundtable discussion and just kind of keep the updates like sequentially along the way. So I guess we'll start top left. Munene, what kind of happened for you in the first month starting out?
Yeah, first month been good so far. Initially, we saw, as you said, your body's adjusting to the deficit. So that adjustment period is over now. So everything's in check. Training is progressing. I believe I'm down 10 pounds. As of today, I think I got a new weigh-in of 226.14 or something like that. So officially down 10 pounds and body's adjusting, not hungry at all. Training performance is good. So yeah, I'd say that's where I'm at currently.
Yeah, I think, and your most recent progress pics is like exactly where I wanted us. Now, also keep in mind, like 10 pounds for Munene is different than 10 pounds for somebody who's lighter, right? Because he's starting heavier. So like overall percentage of body weight is going to be different, right? For him, we can take a bit of a bigger rate of loss in terms of absolute numbers. That's awesome, man. I think, yeah, that's great. And Steve, what about you? How'd the first month go?
First month was good. It was, we talked last in the first one just about setting up the routines and everything, and I have to say it's been oddly enough kind of boring, which is nice. Like it's good. The routine's been there, things have been good. I think the other day I was I was a low check-in at about 174.4, something like that, so down I started about 182, so down about 7-8 pounds. So it was a few off in the first week, and then we're just slowly tweaking down. So yeah, you know what? It was good. Rolling along for the most part. So
Right,
it's been a good, successful month.
Absolutely. And the goal is kind of attack the first phase a little bit more assertively, because when we're hanging on to a tiny bit more body fat, we can be a bit more assertive with the deficit and take the first chunk off quicker. And then we want obviously the rate of loss, the rate of weight loss to slow down as we get leaner, because when you're carrying more body fat, the likelihood of losing muscle tissue and strength is a lot lower compared to once you're already lean. If you push the gas too hard on the deficit, then unfortunately, that's when we can run into some lean mass losses. And obviously there's going to be some when you're getting very lean, but we try to negate that as much as possible. But it's like, let's take the big chunk off now assertively so that we don't have to push super hard when we're already lean and we're pressed for time. We don't want to ever be in a position where we have to rush that last bit of fat loss. It's A, not very fun, and B, it's like, hey, we want to preserve as much muscle tissue as possible. So if you're already lean and you're digging in really hard, it's not like the most optimal place for us to be, right? So I think personally, my highest weigh in my bulk was like low 190s, but then I kind of took my first weigh in around 190, and then this morning I was like 181 point something. So also pretty assertive rate of loss out of the gate. So I think everybody, like, good first month overall, like pretty much exactly spot on of what I would have wanted to happen in the first month, which is good. which is really good. Steve, maybe talk to us about, you got some the first obstacle though that came up this week for you.
Oh yeah. So last week I got a visit from my good friend COVID. It just snuck in there. I was at work. I tested randomly because we had an event coming up last weekend. I didn't really have any symptoms, but it was one of these, we were going to an event. There was going to be a lot of older people, some people with health compromise. So we were doing it just as we've gotten into this routine over the last few years. And so I was at work, I did the test, and it was as positive as it could ever get. And I'm like, no, this can't be right. But by Thursday night into Friday morning, I felt like I got hit by a truck. So I had my whole week planned out for a workout Friday, Saturday, or Friday, Sunday. And then that hit, and I was down for the count pretty good on Thursday night. I don't think I slept at all just because I couldn't really breathe through my nose. And then Friday I was just kind of worn out. So I managed to get one in, but it was a 3 workout instead of a 4 workout week. I didn't quite have it in me to do 2 workouts on the weekend with the recovery and with getting some pretty crappy sleeps for there. And so little small obstacle, but we're on the mend and everything feels good. And actually after this podcast, I got a leg day to hit. So I'm feeling pretty good.
Nice.
All right, let's go. Yeah, that's things happen, and that's another reason why it's good to have a little bit more time on your side, because things are bound to happen during your prep. Like, you're bound to get sick, or life circumstances happen, or different things happen. So it's good to have the extra time so that we can account for things like that. We have a bit of a buffer, but you still managed to stick on your nutrition. Like, I don't think you missed on that. Maybe you just missed the one workout, or.
Yeah, I just missed the one workout. Like I said earlier, it's been kind of boring for the most part because my meals have been relatively the same. My snacks have been pretty much the same. And because I didn't really have much of an appetite anyways, and which is good because I didn't want much of an appetite, especially coming into Halloween and having all these little chocolate bars kicking around the house. My nutrition was right on point. I think there was, maybe there's one day where I, threw an extra few carbs in there just to, just some juice. It was basically just a couple of, got to get that vitamin C. And so really it wasn't too bad. It was just missing one workout. And I think it helped that it was late in the week and I'd already gotten 2 solid workouts in. My setup for the week was fine. My rinse and repeat kind of snacks and meal plans were already in place. So I didn't find like it was much of an obstacle. So just
Awesome.
A little bit less steps, missed the one workout, but over the last couple of years, I think I've only missed a small handful of them. So I'll take this one, and it just means I'll hit the next back workout a little bit harder.
That's why you look the way you look, man. You only miss. That's why you made all this progress. You don't miss. You're consistent. That's the way, dude. You're looking awesome.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah.
You gotta crush it. I think I have this saying that I like to say: boring process equals exciting progress. And so I'm keeping it pretty boring too. But hey, I like boring because let me tell you, boring is very productive. So, Munene, are you also rocking with like pretty standardized meals and kind of things like that, or are you switching it up, including more variety, or what's your kind of thing on that?
Yeah, everything's standardized for the most part. I just find it easier. I don't have to think about it. The meals taste good. If it's food you enjoy and you like, there's really no reason, in my opinion, to switch it out if you like the way it tastes. So I think I like the meals I have: oatmeal, brown rice. I know how they allow me to perform in my training and in daily life. So if performance is good, training is good, they taste good, I'm rocking the exact same thing. The only thing I'm really switching up sometimes is my either late night snack, whether I decide to have popcorn or Greek yogurt. It just depends what I'm feeling like that day. That's the only variety I have. And then yesterday I decided to have 100 grams of blueberries and 100 grams of pineapple instead of cream of wheat. And I put some cinnamon on top of that with a scoop of protein I had on the side. And that was tasty too. some more fiber, some complex carbs. So I like that.
So you swapped your pre-workout meal compared to what I usually.
That was my pre-workout meal.
And
100 grams
how do you
of
find it?
berries. I loved it, man. I loved it, especially because I was doing legs. It was a lot lighter. I
Well,
just
lighter,
really liked
but
it.
it still hits those good sugars, right? Like you can't hit something
Exactly.
super heavy on days like that.
Exactly. And then I had like Rice Krispie Square one. So I had that meal like 2 hours out, and then 30 minutes before I left, I had a Rice Krispie Square. So
Perfect.
I just threw that in there just to try it out. I just wanted to experiment and see how my performance would differ, because I've already had the cream of wheat for a long period of time, so I know what performance is like when sleep variables like sleep, everything is the same. So I was like, let me try this and see if I can notice any changes. So I was just experimenting with that. But yeah, other than that, not really. So I think I'm on the same wavelength as you guys.
Right on.
Keeping it, embracing the mundane.
Yeah,
man. Robot mode, as we said from the get-go. I keep things pretty similar every day as well. I have like a few different meals that I kind of rotate through, but so when I'm in a building phase, I usually just do four meals a day. But right now, on my low days, I'm actually doing 4 meals and then 1 like protein hit before bed, because I find if I have dinner at 7, by the time I go to bed, I'm a little bit hungry. And I'll talk about my nutrition setup in a little bit as well, just because my low days are pretty low for me. They're pretty aggressive. So if I don't have that like last hit of protein before bed, I can definitely feel like hunger is kicking in as I'm trying to fall asleep, which is annoying. And then also I don't want to like spend my carbs right before bed that I could use my carbs during my day or around my workout or whatever. Right. So that's how I've been kind of running it. And then on my higher days, and again, I'll touch on the setup in a bit, but on my higher days, honestly, I've had some days 3 meals and some days 4 meals on my high days when I have more food, because each meal is more satiating. So by the time I get to bed, I'm still not full. I'm still not hungry, I guess, in those days. So, yeah. Yeah.
No, that's solid, man. I think something people may not necessarily know is like, in a deficit, you don't necessarily have to eat less in terms of like calories, but in terms of portion sizes, not necessarily. Because if you have foods that are very high volume and you look at the portion, you're eating less calories, but not the portion size isn't less. It's like you can have the same portion size depending on the foods you have, right? So I think it's really smart.
Yeah, filling up with all the other stuff, right? Like I remember last one, there were a lot of potatoes, because they don't really hit the macros as hard as rice and pasta, right? But it was, I get like a mountainous plate of potatoes, veggies, and a chicken breast. And it feels like I'm eating a huge meal, but really when you count it out and you put it into your fitness, your tracker, they're like, there's nothing here. Like there's nothing in carrots and celery and like stir-fried vegetables. There's just nothing there. So you get a full meal, but you're not, calorie wise and the macro wise, it's so much more beneficial, because then you're not just having, a big, a bowl of pasta that's going to take up basically your entire input for the day and in one meal. So,
and then you get hungry an hour later.
Exactly. You can still have very, very filling meals in a deficit. So
100%. I gravitate towards more like berries, like strawberries, especially blueberries, instead of like bananas or pineapples. And then for vegetables, I'll choose filling ones like mushrooms, cauliflower, broccoli, like leafy greens, big salads, instead of like more, I don't know, calorically dense, even for my vegetables, on the low days there. But I think that's a very overlooked thing that people don't think about. So I'm glad you brought that up, Munene. It's like, as you said, you don't have to eat less food, quantity. It's just the calories are lower. So you can technically eat more physical food with eating less calories, and like tiny swaps can make a massive, massive, massive difference. I don't think people realize like, having 30 grams of carbs worth of pasta compared to 30 grams of carbs worth of boiled potatoes, for example, which are very satiating, it's like, that's a pretty significant difference on how you're going to feel after that meal.
Oh, definitely. I know after last time doing all this stuff and just talking to a couple of guys at work, and one of my friends, he's been trying to just make little adjustments as well, right? Getting back into the gym. And, there's a bunch of us at work that all train in some various form. And we're constantly comparing our meals. So when he does his meal plan for a set of shifts, he's he's like, look at these things. These things weigh, like, he's got 4 containers. He was like, they weigh a ton, but there's really nothing in it. And because we've started talking about just making those simple switches, because he's asking, we just discussed things, and I'm like, yeah, if you just, if you take a little bit less, if you want pasta to be your carb source, but if you cut the pasta portion down substantially, and then you just throw in more, the mushrooms and just the stuff that takes up space almost, you're like, you can still have a very full meal that weighs much more than than your regular plate of pasta on its own. So it doesn't take much, just little tweaks, and you do that once or twice, and you start to feel better, even if we're not in a cut. Like, you're just not as it's not as heavy. You don't feel like you're dragging down. Like, I mean, we've all eaten that plate of pasta with half a loaf of garlic bread and just felt like crap the rest of the night, right?
Food coma.
The food coma.
That's totally true. Yeah, I did. And yeah, it's totally true. And speaking of like calories and everything, maybe we can also just give it like a little bit of an update of like the nutritional setup and any adjustments that happened the first month, if any. I think that'd be really cool. So maybe Munene, walk us through like, where did you start with calories, macros and stuff, and where are we at now? And like, we did make an adjustment for you kind of along the way. So maybe we'll chat about that.
Yeah, so my calories started at 2,745. And then Parris has me eating 1,200 calories a day now. So, just joking. I'm joking.
500 to 600 at the max,
So get that fat off. No, I'm joking. So yeah, my rate of loss was pretty consistent from 2,745, 220 protein, 255, or I think 255-ish, or slightly higher carb, and then fat was around the 80s. So if anything, I was dropping at that weight consistently. I was moving at a steady pace. And then if anything, I think it was after the first 4 weeks, and now we're in week 5, Parris just made a slight adjustment of like 120. So I went from 2,700, and I'm not good at math, so 2,745 to 2,620, whatever the difference is there. And then, yeah, just slight reduction from carbs, but protein and fat stayed the same. And just that slight adjustment has progressed things at a slightly faster rate. Although I was still dropping at 2,745, this adjustment, this minuscule one, has allowed things to just move a little bit faster, but I'm still feeling okay. Energy is still good. No hunger because of the strategy we just talked about, the portion sizes and eggs and omelets and all that stuff. So yeah, it's been good for me for my nutritional setup.
I think that's a really important thing to talk about. Is people think when they make an adjustment, it has to be like 300, 500 calories. But in practice, maybe on paper, you're like, okay, if a pound of fat is roughly 3,500 calories, then I have to make a big adjustment. But in practice, 100 to 250 calorie adjustments can just push things forward a little bit. And like, you'd be really surprised on like, that's why I never make these massive adjustments. Because think about it, if you adjust really early, take a ton of food away, where are you going to go later? Like, you should start as high as you think you can while still achieving the rate of loss that you want. And then you make tiny adjustments to either expenditure and or calorie adjustments along the way to just make sure the pace. And again, we could have technically stayed at 2750 or whatever for Munene, but again, in the first phase, we just wanted to be a little bit more assertive, and we have a certain target that we want to get in a certain time frame. So we just wanted to pick up the pace a little bit while we're still carrying more body fat to kind of get that chunk off, right? Awesome. And Steve, what about you?
So I think we were in the building phase. We were sitting, we've kept it pretty consistent as well, but I think we were sitting in and around the 2,600 calorie area for the building phase. And we were about 180 to 190 grams of protein. I think we were up to like 250 grams of carbs and that's 70-ish grams of fat. So that's where we were in the building, give or take. And then we have just Parris basically just locked in 4 numbers and we've just gone with it. So we dropped down where we're sitting kind of anywhere between 1,900 and 2,000 calories. We're 180 grams of carbs, 180 grams of protein, and 60 grams of fat. And we've just stayed with that. But we in a couple of check-ins ago, we were chatting and we've just created a little bit of wiggle room there. So it's, anywhere plus or minus 10 grams of fat and 10 grams of carbs, as long as I'm staying under that 2,000 mark, it's been effective. Like, and I know we're going to talk about kind of the strategy, the setup and everything, but in terms of the actual volume, like, it's been good. We just, we lost a couple of pounds right off the hop, and that's just your, that's just your initial drop. And then everything else has just been very, very consistent. Although I must say that I've put away a couple of my bigger pairs of pants now, and I put on a pair of work pants the other day that fit about a month ago. They don't fit anymore. They're too big. I'm like, okay, now we're back into where I've probably sat for the majority of my, probably the majority of the last 2 decades. I'm at about that same weight. So
in terms of the waist size.
In terms of waist size, yeah. In terms of waist size, so, well, actually, probably a little bit less over the last couple of years, just because we've moved some of that weight around. But yeah, we came down. What was that? About 500 calories a day, give or take.
From like bulk to cut.
From bulk to cut. But
Ish,
when we were doing our maintenance, we were maintaining somewhere around 2,200 calories. So if I was maintaining to a loss, that's same thing. It's, it's 200 calories. It's, a couple of bowls of cereal that I don't eat anymore. And, maybe not a sandwich. So it's really not much. It's just cutting out a couple little things. And that's just enough to kind of creep that weight down at a pretty happy rate.
Yeah. And not only that, but also maybe like a little bit less estimating, a little less meals that are like, tracked a little bit more flexibly. So when you tighten up the accuracy of your tracking, and then we also make that reduction calories, then things like tend to chuck along. But I'm going to talk about my setup in a second as well. But like, you can see the drastic difference between individuals just by this conversation. Yes, their body weights are very different, which is a big contributor. But like, Steve would be on a pretty significant bulk on Munene starting cut calories.
Oh yeah, we would slowly pass each other in the scale if we stayed at that same weight. If I was eating the same meals as him.
Yeah.
So funny. Eh? Steve's like, oh man, this is a lot of food, dude. I'm like, you'll feed me, please.
Feed me. I'm
joking. Yeah.
It's all relative, and I'm somewhere in the middle. So
it is.
I started my cut around 2350 to 2450 calories ish, and then when I got in touch with my coach Alberto, and he took the reins on everything. Now I actually have a little bit of a different dieting strategy in terms of my setup of my week. Which this is the strategy I usually take once I'm already pretty lean, but he wanted to take it right from the get-go. And I've used this with Steve before and a lot of our other clients that are getting pretty lean. And that's like a 5-2 paradigm, 5 low days to 2 high days. But my low days and high days, the drastic difference is the difference is more drastic than I would usually go. But what I'm doing is around 1900 to 200 calories during the week, Monday to Friday. And usually I do like 190 to 210 protein, and then my fats and carbs kind of fall where they fall. But usually I'm a bit lower on the fats and a little bit higher on the carbs, I'd say, just being honest. And then on the weekends, I have 2700 to 2900 Saturday, Sunday. So pretty significant difference. And that I'll bring up my fats on those days just to make sure I'm not going too low in the fats on my weekly average. And so I can have a bit more flexibility on food choices. And that's also coinciding. This might boggle some people's mind. That's also coinciding with my 2 rest days. So I have 4 training days. Those are all on my low days. And then I have 2 like of my high, we'll call them refeed days, whatever you want to call them, with 0 training as well. And I think, yes, during the week it sucks a little bit more, but also like I'm so busy with work and stuff that I don't think about it too much. And on the weekend, I am finding that I use this strategy maybe like when I'm already leaner, but I kind of like it now too, because I have more flexibility when I'm like hanging out with Tara, like my girlfriend, or if I'm having dinner with my mom or something, so I can have more food on those days. And also I can be like 100% present with those people at those times, right? So I do enjoy this. Yes, I wouldn't advise this to most people being that aggressive. Like for me, that's very aggressive during the week. And unless you have like a lot of experience with dieting and training during a significant deficit, then I wouldn't advise that. But because I have experience, we decided like, hey, we can take that a bit of an aggressive during the week. And so far my body's responding pretty well. My performance is still pretty good. And I have that kind of flexibility on the weekend. So again, just a different way of skinning the cat. And like I use that 5-2 paradigm usually later, and I will be using that probably for you guys like later in prep as well. But yeah, so that's kind of how my things are structured.
Munene, I think you mentioned
big.
you did some of that. You've done that before too. Your high days on your rest days. I think you mentioned that in the last podcast, that you take that weekend or whatever your weekend is, and then you were taking those as a rest day and a refeed day and just a way like overall like recovery of the body, right?
Yeah, exactly. You said it. Yeah, I found that it helped dissipate a lot of fatigue. And then you come back into the training week a lot better. It just helps with the recovery as well. So yeah, definitely right. Yeah. I'm sure. Have you done it too? Like Steve, you've done that before as well, right? Or you've never had experience?
Not really. Like we've done it a couple of times, but
we haven't. Sorry, not to cut you off, but we haven't
No.
put his refeed days with rest days specifically. But we have done the 2 refeeds. Yeah.
Yeah, just I find just with my schedule alone, because I'm not a Monday to Friday specifically, my weekends might be Tuesday, Saturday. Like that just might be my weekend. So I've done the 2 refeed days, but not in a nice, clean, let's work out and do everything Monday to Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday is full on recovery mode. So I've never done it in that specific of an order. But
because of your schedule, right? And the shifts and stuff, it all differs. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
But like when we run deloads, like we also bring out food anyways, usually. So like, you kind of get that effect when you do that anyways. And you just, the goal was to just like really recharge the batteries. But again, these variables matter more when like we're leaner. So yeah, but all cool things, really cool stuff, guys. I think some people are going to learn a few things and change their belief system also around dieting, which is interesting. Yeah. I want to talk a little bit more about like visual progress and stuff like that for a little bit here. So what were the kind of first initial, and we'll go left to right. So Munene, we'll start with you. What were some kind of the initial changes that you've seen in the first month with your physique?
So once again, this is why I think it's good to have a coach, because you see yourself in the mirror every day, and yes, you can see progress, but you may not see certain changes that someone else may see. So when Parris does my check-ins and he tells me, yo, look, you can see the neck, you can see like around here, I can see changes, look at the waist. I'm like, oh, really? Like, yeah, I can see it, but I mean, is it that significant? And then he's like, yeah, but you can really, really see it. And that's because it's objective. He gets to see that, having that other eye. But in terms of what I've been able to see, definitely my midsection. So around my abdomen, I'm starting to lose a bit of the fat I had on my love handles. And I've noticed my face is a little less bloated, partly due to the reduction of water, but also a bit of fat mass has been reduced in that area, which is good. And then I'd say I'm really noticing sort of the delts and upper chest striations are coming through, and my erectors in my back. The two, for anyone who's wondering, the erectors are the two long muscles that are part of the core that stem on the back of the spine. There are 3 actually, but you see them visually just coming right down the spine, and I can really see those at a low body fat percentage now. So I'd say that really. Arms, not so much, because a lot of my fat is stored in my arms, quite a bit, and my glutes. So I'd say that's pretty much what I've seen. Yeah.
I think those areas are going to go last for you. Just like I just know, because I know your physique, I think your arms are going to come in last, which is fine. It's not good or bad. It makes your waist look smaller, but you also don't have like the feathering in the triceps or the striated shoulders that somebody else might have earlier, right? Like personally, my shoulders lean out very quickly, and my arms and limbs and my legs lean out very quickly, but my damn love handles and lower back, I mean, I gotta be like a skeleton face before that things get lean, right? I think Steve's a little bit the same way. But yeah, your progress pics that I reviewed today, I was like, your waist is already looking just like disappeared from the back. Like that one back shot, I was like, holy shit. I actually like laughed out loud when I was reviewing. I was like, what the heck, man, when this guy gets lean, it's just like insane. Yeah, but that's awesome. Really good stuff, man. Really good stuff. And Steve, what about you?
Kind of similar. I mean, I know in the long run, yeah, my midsection is where that's where the most work is going to require. But initially, that's where I've noticed Like I said, like my pant size even has, you know, the pants that were a bit too small for me at the start of the month fit me now, and the ones that were fitting me don't fit me as well. So I've definitely lost a little bit around the midsection, and kind of we noticed in the last progress pictures that when I was doing a side pose, you could see more of my lat sticking out. So I don't think the lat's sticking out. I think we've lost a little bit more around the stomach. I feel in the mirror like I don't have the 18 pack like some guys have. Like I've just realized like I just have bigger abs, but they feel more defined than they did a month ago. I don't notice too much everywhere else just yet. But that's like kind of the initial ones is definitely like the first little bit has come off the midsection, which is nice because that's like you Parris. That's the hardest part. That's last time I kept just waiting until I hit, you know, I think we had to get down to like 160 before I really felt like that was slim. That's just how I hold fat there and then through the face typically. But I think that's where the initial kind of weight loss has been noticed the most is through that midsection. And you know, maybe there's a little bit more definition through the back, but I don't notice it as much.
Fair.
You can see the face too.
Yeah.
The joy, yeah.
Yeah, because it usually like I usually round out a little bit through the cheeks and in through the neck when I'm a little bit heavier, and yeah, maybe it's the haircut, maybe it's the weight loss, maybe a combination of both, but yeah, it's definitely nice to see a little bit more definition around the whole midsection, and the abs already having a little bit more definition than they did this time last year. So
100%.
What about you, Parris?
For me, I think definitely like my limbs and stuff, like my shoulders in the mirror at the gym, I can already see like if when I'm doing tricep extensions, I could see like a little bit of the striations are even already when I get a pump, and just because that's just where it comes off me. And this is everybody's fat distribution patterns are way different, right? So that definitely my face for sure always like fluctuates. I was even looking at the Facebook Live videos I made last month in like our private Facebook group, and I was like, wow, was my face that puffy? So like that yeah, my limbs mostly like are the upper shelf, shoulders, even like the upper chest area as well. Same thing with you, Munene, like that upper shelf kind of coming in. And then yeah, my legs, like I don't hold a lot of body fat in my legs. It's weird. I'm not made for men's physique in terms of my body fat distribution pattern, so I'll tell you that. But my legs stay pretty lean, but now like I can see like the three quad muscles that are very superficial to the skin, like vastus medialis, vastus lateralis, and rectus femoris. Like I can see the separation in my quads, you know, coming in as well. So those are kind of the places I'm starting to see. But I want also people to realize like it doesn't, when you know the right buttons to press, and the key thing here, your adherence is like top notch, you can see progress pretty damn quickly. Like think about it, we're talking about like 4 weeks here.
4 weeks, but, and what 7 to 10 pounds too, like between the three of us. Like that's, you know, and we weren't, you know, vastly overweight or anything. We were just in a bulk, like just at the kind of the higher end of what our bulk would be. So it's not even like we're, you know, losing 50 pounds over the, you know, or just, you know, just a slight tweak in the calories over a month. And, you know, progress pictures, you know, we did ours 3 weeks, right? So in 3 weeks, you could Parris, you were already showing things that maybe I wasn't noticing the same. So like 3 weeks with a minor adjustment, and you're already getting results. So
100%. But that also is because you guys both are experienced with dieting, right? Like we're not talking about, oh, how should you track this? How should you do that? How to set up your day properly? Like those skills are already there. So when it's go time, you go and things happen, but because we already have those skills developed. So yes, it's a short time frame, but like what about all the skills we've been developing over the past, like, you know, such a long period of time, and like previous history with knowing how your body works and knowing how to adjust your variables and organizing your days and different things like that. So and then that plus we already had all the data from beforehand of like where you were when you were in a building phase. What did cutting macros look like for you before? Like we already have that data, so we know that the plan is most likely logical and going to lead us in the right direction. And then we have spot on adherence, and that's why I love working with clients like you guys who are very on point, is because I know that what I plan is going to be executed and we'll most likely see the result that we think we will, because adherence is not the issue. Like apart from you get sick or whatever, like adherence and precision is off the table in terms of being a limiting factor for us when you have like absolute killers, you know?
Oh, it doesn't. Yeah, it's you know, right from the start when you and I started working together, that was always the biggest thing, right? It's you notice if you followed it for a month and you were spot on, or if you were a little bit less, you know, adherent, right? Over for the next month, you're like, yeah, your body's going to change in terms of how much progress you're going to see depending on where you are and everything. But yeah, if you're locked in, everything happens. If you're a little bit less, you know, if it's, you know, 4 out of the 7 days of the week, you're good. Well, you're just not going to have, you know, it's going to take a lot longer. And then are you ruining your progress in those 3 days because you're really falling off the map, right? Like it's, you know, if you're within that like percentage, you know, a few percentage points every day versus 3 or 4 really good days and then 3 or 4 really bad days, you know, it's it doesn't balance out the same, right?
That's so true. And that's why it's like, I think maybe some people may have the mindset where since they're not adherent to the process, they want to make adjustments, but you can't make an adjustment to something you've not been adherent to. So how are you going to adjust something that you've not adhered to? Because you've not been able to see if it works or not. So if you're locked in, as they've just alluded to earlier, and you adhere to the protocol set in front of you, you'll be surprised by the progress you'll see. You don't need to make adjustments if you're locked in as frequently, right? Yeah. As you said, Parris just reduced my calories by 120. Like it was so small. It was like, I don't even notice it. It's because it's negligible. But that's because when you're adherent to something, it's like you don't need to adjust things if you're already adherent. And that's a mindset thing, which we can talk about because we all love mindset. But yeah, it's a mindset thing, right? To reach that point.
100%. It's literally all right here, and you have to go in with like it's that classic thing, right? You put in half-ass effort, you get a half-ass result. Like if your fitness and nutrition report card looks like a C-, and you're like, hey, how come I'm not getting A+ results? It's like it's either it's like you haven't been a good student, you know. And if you do think you have A+ effort on your fitness and nutrition report card and lifestyle report card, then and you getting C- results, then it just means that you have the wrong freaking strategy and a wrong plan. That's a different story entirely, right?
You're studying the wrong subject at that point. Studying geography.
You think you're in biology class,
right? Like...
Exactly. Like, what am I here? And it's so funny because, like, even from a mindset standpoint, it's like when you have these variables, a lot of individuals, I think may feel like, what's the strategy I need? Like, what's the strategy? Give me the tactics, give me the strategy. When the tactics, you don't need is the perfect macro ratio. You don't need training programs improvements or adjustments. What you need is to develop the mindset, because maybe you may have a self-limiting belief that either leads to self-sabotage. Because how often is it? Sometimes this can also stem from a place of worthiness, where we've had an identity of someone who's perhaps been out of shape for a very long period of time, and they're starting to embrace this journey of self-improvement, getting into the best shape of their lives, physically, mentally, emotionally. And maybe deep down, they may not feel like they are worthy of becoming that higher version of themselves. And so when they're on this path or this journey and they make progress and they achieve these small milestones, when they come very close, they have their subconscious mind may whisper, be like, you're not worthy, you don't deserve to see this progress. And they could self-sabotage themselves subconsciously. That's just one reason, mind you. But there are many other self-limiting beliefs that can actually hold us back from adhering to the process. And a lot of individuals may dismiss that. They're like, oh, it's not mindset. No. What's the macro strategy? How do I distribute my macros? How should I set up my full day of eating? Should my training be like this and this? It's like, no, that's not it. It's this. This is the main barrier that you need to overcome if you want to see progress in your fitness journey, because you can have the best training program with a perfect macro ratio relative to your goals and your needs in life. But at the end of the day, you have to take action towards that plan. And what's going to let you take action towards that plan? Your mindset, right? Overcoming those self-limiting beliefs that will help you adhere to the protocol and the plan over time. So that's why I'm sure we can all agree that your mindset is the biggest factor that will either dictate your success or will keep you stagnant in your fitness journey.
So true. And you, as you said, don't worry about any of these variables and details when your adherence is not even that good. Like, you have to focus on getting your mindset to a place where you are very consistent, accurate, and precise again and again and again and again before any adjustment is going to matter. Because as you said before too, it's like, why are we adjusting things if adherence is below 80%? Right? Like, seriously, what's the point of it? It's like, we don't know what's having an effect and what's not if your adherence is not good, right? Like, it's having that mindset that you are the type of person, and this goes with identity shifts and different things like that we talked about before. It's like, you have to identify as the person that is spot on. Like, when I wake up in the morning, there's not even a question of doubt in my mind whether or not I'm going to stick to my nutritional strategy, crush my workout, and get my work done. Like, there's not even a question. It is something that's happening. It's non-negotiable for me, and it's not. Oh, I wonder if today I'm going to have a good nutrition day. I hope tomorrow is a good day. It's like, no, it is.
None of that.
And it is. I'm not settling for anything less than this, than my best in this prep. And I don't want to be going on stage being like, hey, I shouldn't have ate that bag of Cheetos in week 4. That maybe I shouldn't have eaten. It's like not even a question, because is that bag of Cheetos really more enjoyable than me experiencing what it feels like to have put my all into something and seeing what that gave me? That's a lifelong achievement versus a 30 seconds awesomeness and quote unquote of me eating the Cheetos bag.
Yeah, that's so true. It's mindset at the end of the day, which is why it shouldn't be disregarded. Because I feel like a lot of us are looking for those tangible strategies, right? A lot of individuals like, give me the answer. What's the solution? I'm waiting for that program or the adjustment or the protocol. It's like, the strategy's over here. Like, once you get this locked in, the rest is just like, it's like a cascade. It just happens.
Well, that's because that's
a byproduct.
Like, that's the hard part, right? Like, people want the numbers. You know, the three of us have three separate plans. I'm sure we have a lot of similar strategies that we have just kind of come across in terms of what our day looks like, in terms of when we hit our nutrition first, for when we're hitting workouts, stuff like that, and what works. But what works for you doesn't work for me necessarily. You know, that hit of protein for you, Parris, at night, I like that too. But that's just something that I've come into, and I have a hit in the morning and a hit in the night. Like, you know, I do a scoop or a scoop and a half of casein first thing in the morning. Especially like some of my day shifts, I start at 6 in the morning. If I can't have breakfast at 5 before I leave the house, because otherwise I'm making too much noise. So I'll have a shake on my way into work, and then I know when my next meal is going to be, and I know when it's going to work. I know when I should have it, but what works for me and what my body needs isn't the same as you. And so the tangibles of what your macros are and when you need to eat, they're just so different. I've got friends that they eat meals. That's it. You said it earlier, Parris, you do 4 meals. I don't like that. I like a couple of meals and I like snacks. I like a constant stream of food throughout the day. And that just works for me. I don't care. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, if it's in a bulk phase, then it's an extra bag of Cheerios here and there. But, if it's in a cutting phase, then it's a thing of veggies. But I like to have consistent food. I don't like just 3 big meals. It's never worked for me. So if you just said, yeah, you have to have 4 meals a day. A while ago, it was 6 meals a day on, every way. That was what people were preaching. And you're like, but it just doesn't work, right? Like, if 6 meals a day works for you and you have your 6 meals a day, and then, and you've got the meals are set up in a way that are going to benefit whichever direction you want to go, and you're sticking to it, it's great. But I can't do that. I don't want that. I don't want to necessarily lock into that style, because it just doesn't work for me. I know when I need to have a hit of food. But if I wake up in the morning and I'm locked in like you, and I'm like, okay, I know when I'm gonna have roughly when I'm gonna have stuff. I know what I need to eat today. I know what I need to get done, so it's gonna happen. Maybe I adjust when my workout's gonna be because of other things going on, but I need to hit a workout today before I pick up the kids from school, because Amelia's gonna have to work out in the evening. So instead of fighting over it, I'll get mine done. But that's the only thing. Like, so I adjust my meals and stuff as I need to for workouts. But yeah, if I'm not following, like if I don't have that the goals, and if I don't have it set up in my head of what is going to happen, yeah, like I could sit and people, you see it, oh, I'm going to eat like The Rock for a day, and you're like, well, but that's that's it doesn't work, right? Like in the way that the way that you eat and the way that Munene eats, like, and the structure of food and the macros, like you could sit all day long and try and figure out the science behind all of that. But yeah, if you're not gonna follow it, then you're right. What's the point?
Yeah. And you try telling a woman who has to diet on like 1,400 calories to have 6 meals a day. Those meals are going to be like, I just had a bite of apple.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You can suggest and you can offer like possibilities, and hey, here's a sample of what I do. Like, I'm more than happy to tell my friends how I break my day up. But that doesn't work for everybody. Like I said, my one friend, he kind of dabbles with the intermittent fasting idea. I'm like, I can't do that. When I get up in the morning, I'm hungry. And if I don't have something, then I'm going to have everything. So I don't want to have all of my macros before 11 o'clock in the morning and then really figure out the meaning of life for the rest of the day. So, but like, I can't do that. Some people need a breakfast. Some people just need a toast and a coffee. Like, I don't know, like, but it's just so personal and so, other than trying things here and there and saying, hey, how does it work for you? Maybe I'll try that for a week and see how my body feels, how like, it's not necessarily about the results that I'm going to see. It's how am I functioning for the day? Am I in absolute misery by noon because I haven't had enough, or I've had too much, and now by 5 o'clock I'm wondering if I should just go to bed because I have no more food to eat? Like it's all until you try it and figure out what works. Like there's no magic button that says you have to have this setup every day. It's not feasible. You're right. 6 meals of like two pieces of celery at 11:30 on the dot. Like,
no. I'll let you go ahead in a second, Munene, but I was just going to add on that. It's like, you can't make these hard rules for yourself. And also I think it's just, people have the mindset, it's just so much easier to say, okay, what's the best way to do something versus, well, let me learn the best way for me. Because guess what? Learning the best way for you takes time, and it takes trial and error, and it takes thinking and time and patience and modifications and tweaking things as you go, which is a lot more effort, right? So that's why people want that magic button, I think.
Yeah.
What are you gonna say, Munene?
Oh, true. Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, I was like, Steve was like 2 pieces of celery or like coffee and a toast. And then there's some people who have like a cigarette and a coffee for breakfast. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no, man! Like, please don't do that, anyone. Like, oh no.
No, I think we can agree that regardless of what your macros are, that's not a good way to start your day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Please don't start your day like that.
That's hilarious, guys. That's too funny. I gotta stop that then, because that's what I've been doing. But anyway, just kidding. But I guess the last thing I want to touch on, because I know these things we could be having 2-hour long podcasts, but I do want to try to keep it somewhere around an hour. Last thing I want to talk about is like, what do you guys in this next month, because we're going to do these monthlies, like in this next month, like what's the key focus on you? Could be like action wise or mindset wise, or like what do you want to improve on or add that you to coming up this month?
What do you think? You want to go first, Munene? You look like you're deep in thought. You want me to go first?
Sure. Which I'm okay with either. If you have yours off the top of your mind already, feel free.
Sure. I think the main thing that I want to focus on is I really want to try and push the workouts a little bit more. I think like my workouts have been great, other than, you know, maybe the one on the weekend in the middle of COVID there, but I don't want to get complacent. Like the workouts are good. You know, we've been following each other. Munene hits like 100 PRs every workout. It feels like he's still crushing it and going up. And I feel like this month I've almost been playing it a little bit safe. Like my workouts are good. I'm not dropping anything down, but I don't feel like I'm pushing the envelope as much as I could. I think I played it a bit safe, wondering where my energy levels were going to be. How I was so focused on trying to make the rest of everything boring. I've included the workouts into that. So they're good. Like I said, they're good, solid workouts. I still feel them, but this next month I want to really try and push that a little bit. I want to, like, the routine's been good, meals have been good, energy's been fine. So I think this next month, because we're not going to tweak anything, we're not really going to change anything for the macros and the nutrition or anything. So I want to try and push that envelope of what can I get out of those workout days a little bit more.
Love it.
Before we, especially, we've only got one more month before we kind of go up a little bit. So why not try and dig in? We've pushed the limit down a little bit for everything else. I want to push that limit up a little bit more in the gym.
Yeah. And we'll talk about the diet break stuff like next podcast. But the thing is, training in a deficit is definitely different, and it is a new skill. But as you said, like, it's easy to be a little bit conservative, like, oh, I'm dieting, I'm not going to push as hard. But you have to go in with the mindset that you're trying to still build muscle. That's the best way I like to think about it. It's like I'm driving to the gym, each set I'm trying to build muscle. And yes, my low days are very low, but I've still managed to improve my performance on a lot of my compounds. Mind you, a lot of those movement patterns are a little bit newer or different methods than I've done before. So I can get some, like, quote unquote newbie gains from that. But I'm still, like, on my leg press, I'm still adding weight and reps in, like, my RDLs and on some of my other movements as well. So you can't go in with the mindset that you're going to get weaker, because guess what is the best fight against losing muscle? Keeping your performance pretty damn awesome. So yeah. Apart from other things, obviously, but yeah. So right on. Munene?
Yeah, for me, it's sleep. I want to either wake up in a plus or minus 1 hour a day. So I'm either up at 5 or 6, but I want to keep that consistent. I don't want it to be 5 and this is on weekdays. So I don't want it to be I'm up at 5 or 6. I want it to be 1. Either one of them. And that means, because what I do is I'd adjust it, which makes sense. Like if I'd go to sleep at 11 versus 10, then if I go to sleep at 11, I'd wake up at 6. If I went to sleep at 10, I'd wake up at 5. But I want to establish that time frame where I just, it's definite. So it's not this or this, it's this. And that's because sometimes I get carried away at night doing work, or like doing like some client stuff, or just writing a post for the next day. But I just want to, like, cut that time off and be like, okay, just go to bed. You can do it tomorrow. It's okay. I don't feel tired. It's not like what I'm doing right now isn't a bad thing. It doesn't make me tired. It doesn't affect my performance. It's just nice. I just think I'd want to have that more consistent. Yeah, that's it. Other than that, yeah, sleep hours and quality and quantity is still the same. I just think I would benefit from having it at one thing.
The robot slowly becoming more and more robotic there.
R2D2.
Turn the
C3PO.
10 o'clock hits, you turn your power button off, and away you go, right down.
Yeah, you have to set off a cutoff time, Munene, and as one online coach to another, you have to set up the cutoff time, because I used to be bad. I would respond to messages. I mean, everybody's got a different schedule, so you get some clients that message you really early, all the way through the day, and then some messages really late. But you have to set your cutoff time, because they don't have a cutoff time. And I don't know about you, but like I rather answer messages to get them off my head. But I've just been putting on do not disturb, and like past a certain point in the night, I won't respond to messages anymore, because they can wait till tomorrow morning. They can wait. Your business is not going to all of a sudden go down, and the clients are not going to, need you so badly in those few hours from like 9:30 to, 6 a.m. Like, what possibly could they possibly need emergency for, right? So it's like, just giving yourself that shut off time. Like, you can write the post tomorrow, you can do those things tomorrow. It's like, give yourself that turn off time. It's very important. It's very important. And I'm not saying I'm amazing at this either, but it's something I've definitely worked on in the past year, I'd say. So I think for me, what I'm going to work on is almost being kind of like in a state of just peace with everything. It's like we talked about this a little bit about like just being neutral no matter what is going on. But I think I want to keep that up. It's like of just being in a state of peace no matter what is going on in the week, and not letting anything like really stress me out, and just dealing with things and confronting the work and just getting things done and checking the boxes and whatever, but not like letting anything really like disrupt my mental state, you know. And that's really the thing, like keeping that just my head really straight on. That's number one. And the second thing I want to do is on the weekends, I really want to, and I talked about this before too, but I want to get even better at this, is like really focusing on being present with my partner and my family on the weekends. Because I'm not training, I have more food, and I want to be like, really put that as the focus of like my relationships on the weekend. And also if I need to rest or get extra downtime, like using the weekends to be like really charging the batteries so I can smash it on Monday. So I think I want to go into my week with really recharged, and also having given a lot of my attention, energy on the weekends to people I care about, because during the week I'm not like the most amazing partner or family member, right? Because like realistically I start work around 7, and then I finish work around 7, and then I'm tired and go to bed at 9:30. So it's like, it's just being honest.
There's not a lot of time for you to do anything else during that time, right? Like, and nothing meaningful, right? It's nice, you can sit and chat for 5 minutes, or you can sit and you obviously if you have dinner, and you can do things in that time, but it's broken up, and it's going to be interrupted because you're like, I got 1 more hour of stuff I've got to do, and then I'll be able to shut things down. But I've heard a lot of that from people who are working from home, like they are stretching their days out.
Mm-hmm.
So they're having more and more little breaks, but everything's interrupted, as opposed to when you used to get home at 5, if that was your thing. And now from 5 till whenever it is you go to bed, you got nothing else. There's no work. So you're present. Whereas now, if you're stretching your days out, you can 30 minutes here and there is nice. Certainly, like for me, I like a cup of tea, read a few pages of my book if nobody's home, or take the dog for a walk, or the other day it was doing whatever it is with the kids, like meal prepping with the kids because they wanted to make pizzas for the next day. So we're like, that's not
awesome.
I'll never turn that down, certainly for 30 minutes. But if there's something else going on, whether on my side or theirs, it's going to be interrupted. So you're present when you can, but until you actually shut that off, I'm fortunate. My work, if I'm at work, I'm at work, and if I'm not at work, nothing really. I don't really care what happens at work, right? Like there's no emails I need to respond to. My bosses don't call me. There's none of that. So when I'm home, I don't need to be still dealing with work. But you guys, like you said, if you don't shut that timer off at some point, it's easy to just let those hours creep in. And guys like me who might be sending a message at 2 a.m. because I've had a random thought, like because I'm on nights, so I'm up. Why shouldn't everybody be up? Like,
that's too funny.
Yeah, if you don't,
so easy to get carried away.
Yeah,
you don't even notice it sometimes because you're so like, and then you look at the clock like, damn, okay, like
I've made some mistakes tonight.
Yeah, I think I'm just even setting an alarm. Sometimes like the disc goes off, it's like time to end, and you're like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
If it reaches that point.
Certain things can wait.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah, like certain things can wait. And right now, where fatigue management is even more important, as I mentioned to you this before, resting is productive, and resting will give you better results. Take that in for a second. I'm all for working your ass off, but like resting in this case will help with fatigue management, which will indirectly affect your training, which will indirectly affect your sleep and your fat loss and everything. So it's like resting is productive in this sense. So you have to check that box as well. And that is part of your work. Like resting is part of your work. You need to think of it like that. Fatigue management is part of your work.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So awesome, guys. I think we should leave it there because or else just keep spitting. But that was awesome podcast episode 2 of the Adherence Project. We're closing out. Month 1 done. Month 2 has begun. We're gonna kick some butt out there.
Definitely.
Take care, everybody. And if anybody reached this point in the episode, you're awesome.
You're a real one.
You're awesome. Yes. And if you DM me and you say, I watched it, quote unquote, I watched it, I'll give you 30% off your first month coaching if you're listening to this and we're not working together. That's how much I appreciate you guys listening for this long. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, guys, have a good one, and we'll talk soon.
Awesome.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.